Hey guys, it is CDTVProductions here, and here's a best versus video I've wanted to do for a while on the one and only Kendrick Lamar. If you haven't seen it, I recently made a video on Kendrick's 10 fastest verses, so if you want to check that out, the link will be in the description below. But today, we are going to be looking at what I think his best verses are, and why I think these ones are his best. So get ready for the longest video in this series so far. Without any more hesitation, this is CDTVProductions, and let's get right into the video.
You even dream about me. Kill my homeboy and God spared your life. Dumb criminal got indicted same night. So when you play the song, rewind the first verse about me abusing my power so you can hurt about me.
Now these verses are always mentioned in no particular order, but this is one of my favourite verses from Kendrick. You need to listen to it to get the full effects, and it really brings the song to a definitive close. In the first verse of this song, Kendrick has a light-hearted sounding verse about having sex multiple times with a woman, having a lot of wordplay with the word walls referring to her vaginal walls. But it gets pretty dark when he reveals why he's having sex with her in the final verse. The father of her kids is in prison for killing one of Kendrick's friends, so Kendrick is abusing his power as a famous rapper and is only having sex with this girl as a way of getting his revenge against the murderer. He is just smashing this girl because her boyfriend is in prison and can't do anything about it as a way to spite him. It gives a whole new perspective on the first verse and adds more emotion to the song, with Kendrick bringing the theme of power abuse into the forefront of the track's themes.
DJ Ill-Will, have my scrubs on. I'm the chemist that's whipping it in the kitchen. This here is not for the children. You need parental vision if you want to learn how to cook in the dope business.
This isn't exactly a super intricate song with a complex meaning, but it's fun, and the ending had me smiling pretty strong. Throughout the track, Kendrick talks about cooking up drugs, going into quite specific detail about it. It sounds like he's definitely had experience in making drugs. However, in the last few lines of the track, he reveals he has never made or sold drugs in his entire life, yet he can still go into so much detail and pretend that he has, and people would believe it. It serves as an interesting commentary on rappers that convincingly talk about drugs when they don't actually live that lifestyle.
So no matter how much I say I like to preach with the Panthers, or tell Georgia State Marcus Garvey got all the answers, or try to celebrate February like it's my B-Day, or eat watermelon chicken and Kool-Aid on weekdays.
This verse is everything it needed to be. It was aggressive, hard-hitting, and hit all the marks it intended to. The whole song deals with themes of hatred, hypocrisy, and above all else, racism. One of the lines that hits incredibly hard is when Kendrick says, "I'm black as the heart of an Aryan," then pauses for a beat so that it just really hits you. He then closes the verse with the most powerful section of the song by revealing why he has been referring to himself as a hypocrite for the whole song. He considers himself a massive hypocrite because he shed tears when Trayvon Martin was killed, but Kendrick himself has killed a black man, who he refers to as blacker than himself. He himself has contributed to the death of a young black man, so how can he be outraged when someone else does the same? It's a chilling verse that speaks on some important social issues, as Kendrick always does.
If I told you I killed that nigga at 16, would you believe me? Or see me to be innocent Kendrick you seen in the street with a basketball and some now latest to eat? If I'm mashing all of my skeletons, would you jump in the sea?
This verse is great for many reasons, and one of the reasons I have it on here is just because it sounds really interesting with how it was delivered and mixed. Kendrick flows effortlessly whilst the pitch of his voice keeps changing from high to low, and it gives the verse an otherworldly feel. The drums and the beat completely drop out, and the focus is all on Kendrick's words, in a verse which really embodies the theme of a good kid stuck in a mad city.
I seen her El Camino Park, and in her heart she hated there, but in her mind she made it where nothing really mattered. Still she hit the backseat, then caught a knife inside the bladder, left her dead raped in the street. Keisha song.
Here is one of the best tracks from Kendrick's Section 80 album. This track is one of the key songs to the concept of the album and covers the story of a prostitute named Keisha who, long story short, gets stabbed by a customer at the end of the story, leaving her, as Kendrick puts it, dead and raped in the street. This happens so quickly and is quite a shocking and saddening end to the story. It's even more upsetting when Kendrick reveals that Keisha was only driven to this lifestyle after after being molested at a young age. After this, Kendrick finally reveals that he wrote this song so his little sister could hear it, so that she doesn't become a prostitute in the future. Kendrick always drops lines in the last verses of his songs that changes up their context a little bit, and it's interesting to see that this track is basically a warning to Kendrick's sister about the dangers of getting into that profession.
I woke up this morning and figured I'd call you in case I'm not here tomorrow. I'm hoping that I can borrow a peace of mind. I'm behind on what's really important. My mind is really distorted. I find nothing but trouble in my life.
I couldn't pick just one verse from this song because they only really work when they're listened to back to back. I also chose to talk about this one at this point in the video because it relates to the last track. The first two verses are rapped from someone else's perspective but are directed at Kendrick. The first one is from the brother of Dave, Kendrick's friend who was murdered and actually died in Kendrick's arms. Dave's brother is thanking Kendrick for how much he cared for Dave during his life and says he hopes Kendrick goes on to tell Dave's story through his music. Dave is thankful for Kendrick's music. Then the second verse is from the perspective of Keisha's sister, and that's how it links to Keisha's song. Whilst Dave's brother was appreciative of Kendrick telling Dave's story, Keisha's sister has a very different view about Kendrick telling her sister's story, condemning him for it as she saw it as him criticizing her for being a prostitute. Keisha's sister is not thankful for Kendrick's music. This is all addressed and tied up in the final verse, which is from Kendrick's own perspective. He gets personal when he talks about his infatuation with death and tells Dave's brother that Dave really was one of his closest friends. He then addresses Keisha's sister, saying he only talked about her situation because her story drew Kendrick in and he saw it as something powerful and moving that he could put in his music to help other people. He wasn't trying to disrespect anyone. This whole song is so damn well put together, and I really could not just pick one verse. It had to be all three verses on this track for me.
I probably die anonymous, I probably die with promises, I probably die walking back home from the candy house, I probably die because these colors are standing out. Probably die because
This song is just how it sounds from the title. It's a very in-depth examination of all Kendrick's fears at different stages in his life. My favourite one is the second one, rapped from Kendrick's perspective when he was 17 years old, and his biggest fear was death and becoming another statistic. I personally think this is the best verse because it kinda shows where Kendrick's infatuation with death that he mentioned in Sing About Me comes from. All the lines in this verse are pretty similarly structured, and it helps give it a very poetic feel. It's an intriguing look at the mind of a young Kendrick Lamar.
What you want, you a house, you a car, 40 acres and a mule, a piano, a guitar, anything. Say my name is Uncle Sam on your dog. Motherfucker, you can live at the mall. I know you're a guy, that's why I'm kind. Don't have
Wesley's Theory is the first track on Kendrick's legendary To Pimp A Butterfly album and serves as a good introduction to the album's themes. The flow is beautiful on the second verse and Kendrick's tone of voice fits in perfectly amongst the funk-influenced beat. It's a great combination. Kendrick raps as Uncle Sam in this verse, showing him to be quite an insidious character representing the government who encourages Kendrick and other black celebrities to spend their money in excess, so that Uncle Sam can make more and more profit from them. It's a great way to kick off the political and racial themes that are present all throughout TPAB, and the last lines reveal what exactly Kendrick means by Wesley's Theory.
Mama in the bathroom, pop it at work. Happened on a Sunday, we should've went to church. Look at my shirt, polo on it. It's gon' sell, lift my logo on it. I feel no opponent. A demon come near and I might throw a spear at the omen. You looking at the 2010 Romans Empire.
And I thought we'd end on a verse that just went incredibly hard, you know, end on somewhat of an uplifting note. This was featured quite high up on my 10 fastest Kendrick Lamar verses list, which again, you can check out on the link in the description below, and it is solid from start to finish. It was released in promotion of Dr. Dre's Detox album, which never came out, but it shows how much faith that Dre had in Kendrick Lamar's rapping, that he would trust him with putting out a track to market his album. album. But I mean, listening to this, you can just see why he trusted Kendrick. The flows are impeccable throughout the whole track, and he covers a lot of ground on it. It is mainly a bar-focused track, but it's very good. The rhyming on here is super impressive too, and I'd recommend checking it out if you want more of a light-hearted Kendrick song after all of the other more depressing verses on here. Well guys, that's going to be it for the video today. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. I decided to release this very closely to my 10 fastest Kendrick Lamar verses list, because these two are very closely related. So let me know in the comments below what your personal favourite Kendrick Lamar verses are, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Unblock me on Twitter, please, Whit Lowry, and this is CDTVProductions, signing out.